The thing about Delta blues is that it's full of complicated rhythms. They seem impossible, but dang, they are cool. John here, and this is your Tuesday Blues, where every week we come together for a blues guitar lesson to help you play the music you love. And today we're going to unpack that open G Delta blues rhythm that you just heard. It might sound a little complicated, but we're going to put it together brick by brick. So let's dive in. 1, 2, 3, 4. The downbeat is the open G. Remember, this is open G tuning, and this 5th string is tuned to G. And I'm getting under the string and pushing out and away from the body of the guitar. And when the string sort of releases from your thumb, it smacks against the fretboard and you get that sort of popping sound. We combine that with a fret hand mute, where right after I play it, I come down and mute out the strings and you get this really sharp, punchy note. And that's what we're going for here. Now you'll see later on, and you might even hear me play it throughout this lesson, where we let that breathe rather than choking it out. That's up to you. It's a stylistic choice that you can make. I'm going to play it both ways just to keep things kind of interesting here in this lesson and let you know that you can change these minor things, kind of fit your move, your groove, whatever you're going for. But that's just beat 1. So let's keep moving. On the and of 1, we're going to brush up through the top 2 strings. All right. And then what we're going to do is place your ring finger on the F note. This would be a G, but remember, we're tuned down, so this is an F note, and it gives us that really cool G7 sound. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to play a frail. So that's all about picking technique. I'm going to have this in place, remember, here, and what I'm going to do is just kind of flick and release this from this sort of thumping motion on the top 2 strings. It's alright if you hit the 3rd string every now and then like I just did, but we're really aiming for those top 2 strings. And this is a quick note. This is a 16th note, so we want to play 1 E. The E is going to be a brush up, those same top 2 or 3 strings. On the and of 2, we're going to play the F on the 4th string, 3rd fret. And this, again, we can get a little bit of a pop happening by getting under the string and kind of pushing out, picking out away from the body of the guitar. And then we're going to finish up this measure by playing another frail, followed by a brush up, top 2 strings, that was with the F, then without. Then we drop all the way down to the 6th string, 3rd fret, get under it again. And what we're going to do is play that for beat 4, and then on the and of 4, another brush up. You can do it with whatever finger. Usually I'm doing it with my index finger there. All right? So when you play all that in time, this is what you get. 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and. So that's the main rhythm figure, and we play it 4 times to kick off this 12-bar arrangement. But before we leave that, I do want to say that it sounds really cool to step into the downbeat with this 4 and there's the 1, the downbeat. But when we get there, we've got a choice that we can make. We can choke that out and have that really punchy start to the measure, or you can let it ring. They both sound great to my ears, and I want to give you that as an option when you're working on playing through this arrangement. But now let's move on to the 4 chord. we're going to bar across strings 5 all the way up to the 1st string at the 5th fret. And we're going to hold that really solid, and the only other fret that we're going to use is on the 1st string, the 8th fret. We get that real cool bluesy sound happening right there. Alright, a cool C7 sound. There's a C major, C7. Alright, so the rhythm though is pretty much the same, but because we're kind of moving the melody around a little bit, we get something that sounds kind of like it fits, but it's not exactly the same as that rhythm that we learned to kick things off. So let's start stepping through this bar, or really 2 measures, over the C chord, the 4 chord. We start off with the downbeat, and that's the 5th string, just as before. Then we've got a brush up, top 2 strings. Then we've got a frail brush up, 2 16th notes. So we've got 2 E, and then for the and, it's the 4th string, right? 5th fret, held under the bar. Then we go to this chord, right? The C7. We really get that C7 sound happening here just by putting the little finger, or another finger if you want to reach that far, but I'm using the little finger on the 8th fret of the 1st string. And what I'm going to do is frail, and then go back to the bass on the 5th string. Then I'm going to do a frail brush up for the 4 and the next measure is mostly the same. We just kind of hold beat 4 instead of having a 4 and it sounds like this. Alright, so together, these 2 measures. Then back to our main rhythm figure for 2 measures. Alright, and from here we're going to the 5 chord. It looks a lot like this here, but just moved up a full step to the 7th fret. And this is a D chord, and of course we're going to play the D7 at times and get this 10th fret 1st string involved. So here's the picking over the D chord, and then I'll take that down for the next measure back into C. So really everything over the D chord here, 5 chord, is basically the same as that previous measure over the 4 chord, but we're just moving it up into D. Then we fall back down and play sort of that second measure over C, where we end with that kind of hang. It builds some anticipation as we head back to the 1 chord. Now the last 2 measures are a turnaround. This is a really fun one. There's a lot of notes in here for sure, so it's easy to get kind of lost and turned around, fingers twisted, but let's give a listen to it. And I think with practice and playing this at a slow tempo, you can get this cool little turnaround under your fingers. All right, let's play through that slowly and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Alright, so we start off 1 and, very familiar territory, and then we're going to start here, the F on the 4th string, 3rd fret, and we're going to play 2 16th notes. This would be beat 2, so we go 2 E. The E there is the open 3rd string for that G, so we've got 2 E and, come back to the F for and then we're just going to pinch strings 4 and 3 together for beat 3 and, then drop down again, that was here, 2nd fret, drop down again on the 4th string to the 1st fret, and we go 4 and, then for the last measure, we play these 2 open, that's 1 and 2, and then for the end of 2, come back to that low note on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, that F note there, and then the open, then slide into the 5th fret, and then we're just going to pluck that G note on the 3rd string to kind of let this thing finish out. So the whole turnaround played slowly is this. Instead of hitting it that last time, you could start over and just loop this into a groove. And then honestly, from here you can have a lot of fun. There's a ton of ways to embellish this, to build this into something that you can sing over. You could even put on a bottleneck slide and start having some fun there, but the rhythm to me is what this is all about. So even if you want to play some slide over a groove like this, you've got to pay attention to your picking technique and get that down. And a complicated rhythm like this seems really daunting, but if you take it slow and really work your way through it at a slow tempo, you're going to be surprised at what you can accomplish. If you try to jump right out there and play a Son House or a Book of White style rhythm at their speed, you're setting yourself up for some frustration, and believe me, I've been there. I think I can do certain things at top speed, but it pays for me to slow down and really step into things at a slower pace. Alright, so that's a big piece of advice for you as you get this down. If you like this video and you want to keep learning, click or tap the video right over there, and I'll be back next week for another Tuesday Blues. Until then, practice smart and play on.